Hello to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I'm looking forward to sharing this story with you. I hope that you're online and ready for a great one. Now, if you remember where we were last time, we were reading a story again, or not reading, I was telling you a story from Uncle Arthur's Bedtime Stories, and this one comes from there also. But does anybody remember the previous story? By the way, welcome. This is Uncle Bryan's Stories Worth Repeating, and I'm glad you've tuned in. I have traveled around the world in many different places telling stories to many children, and I'm glad you could be part of my time here together. So, my last story I shared with you was about Swami. And Swami was talking about a particular kind of animal. Now, if you're watching, I've got a little trick for you here. This is not the animal that I talked about with Swami, but it is an animal from a country and a continent that you might be able to guess. So I want to invite you, if you're there watching, to go ahead and put it on your Facebook there, send me a message, and we will see who got it right. If you can name this particular animal, it looks like the story of Swami, but it's not. It's actually a story or a picture from a place. See if you can tell me what in the text messages, and I'll talk about it later. But this story, this picture helps remind me of the story I'm going to share with you today about Scott. Now, Scott was quite a young man. I'm going to have to share with you. Now, for those of you who are really observant here, notice we've got some possible names around Mr. Orangutan here, and he wanted to make sure you saw them, didn't you? Yep. Look at that. You're causing trouble. We need to get you a name so you can help control things. So, he has heard some of these different names here. We've got Clyde and Leaf and Bobby, or Otong. That one we'll have to talk about there. Jeff, and you'll notice I have a little exclamation point there. I'll tell you about that next week. And more stories. And Ongi, or how about Georgie and Rangi Tangi, or Elmer Fudd. That's a bit stuffed, huh? Okay. Elmer Fudd. And Larry, Murray, Finnegan, and Arnold. So you guys need to put your votes in there. Which ones you think are the best fit for this hairy sidekick of mine. And we'll be having some stories about him and places where he's from. But that's not the story today. Today is the story of Scott. And Scott lived in a place where there were farmers. And so the place where this is from also has many farmers, as does some other places, which we'll think about as we go forward. So Scott could have been in many different places as a farmer, but he wasn't a farmer specifically. He actually was just a young boy. So you know what young boys do when they're sitting around bored. Maybe some of you are bored right now because you're locked in your houses and can't go to school. I understand. Well, Scott was in a particular place, like at a park, and back in the days when this story was told, sometimes farmers would go looking for people to work for them. And so this farmer came walking through, and he saw a group of boys all kind of standing around, kicking the dirt, looking here and there, chatting about different things. And the farmer came up and he looked at the boys, and he saw this one young man who was standing there kind of against a post. And he looked really nice. He was a sharp-looking young man. He looked really smart. And he says, "You want to come work, boys?" And some of the guys said, "I don't feel like working. Nah, leave me alone." But Scott looked at him and said, "Sure." And he says, "Do you know how to do farm work?" And Scott said, "I sleep well on windy nights." And the farmer looked at him and said, "What'd you say, boy? Can you do farm work?" "I sleep well on windy nights." And the farmer thought, this guy's kind of dumb. I don't know what's wrong with his head. And so he walked on off to try to find some more boys, and didn't find anyone really that looked like what he wanted. And so he came back, and there's Scott still sitting there up against the post. The other boys were there who said they didn't want to work. And the farmer said, "Boy, you still want to work?" And he said, "I sleep well on windy nights. I'll work." He said, "All right, fine. Don't know what's wrong with you. You keep saying the same thing. But yeah, you come work for me." And so Scott took his things and went and he stayed with that farmer working in his farm. And so every day he'd get up and do different things, and he just was a good worker. But the farmer always wondered, what's wrong with this boy here? And then one night it was really, really windy and stormy. And while the farmer was asleep, all of a sudden he heard a big lightning crash and a big burst of wind, and he thought, oh no, that worker of mine, we're going to be in trouble. And so he goes running downstairs, puts on his overcoat so he doesn't get all sopping wet, and he goes looking to see, oh, I'm sure the wind has blown open the barn, and cows probably going moo, moo, probably flying away like Wizard of Oz kind of thing. Who knows? And he's going running around looking to try to see what's gone wrong. And as he comes running up to the barn, he sees the door is completely shut. And he goes, oh, I forgot an important detail. Do you ever do that? Do you ever have something just slip your mind? Probably not at your age. As young as you guys are, you probably have perfect memories. When your mom and dad tells you to go do something, it's like, yes, ma'am, I will go do that right now. I bet you never forget to do something, right? But when you get old like me, Uncle Bryan's starting to lose a few things here, including my hair. He's got a lot of hair. We might want to keep that in mind as we give him a name. But remember, we're talking about some of these stories here. This is a farming place, and the detail I forgot. Have any of you guys been sending in some guesses of what you think this animal is? We'll have to look later. I can't wait to see what you think, and have to give a shout out to the young person who manages to name where this is from and what it is. Can't wait to see. Okay, and also I need you to give some votes on these names. Which do you think, or give me some more names for my furry, hairy, big hairball man friend here. Yep, wave to the people, see? He's smart too, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, so the detail I forgot was the farmer. When the bang happened and the wind blew, all of a sudden he came running out of his room and went to the room where Scott was sleeping. And he opened up the door and says, Scott, the wind is blowing, get out, let's get going. And Scott, he was sleeping. And the farmer said, hey, come on, the wind's blowing. He just slept right through. And the farmer got frustrated and said, I'm going to fire that boy tomorrow morning. And he goes running out of the house with his coat on, like I said, back to the story where we were. And he goes and he sees that the barn door is not flinging open in the wind. There is no cow running around moo, moo, in the wind. No, the cow is safely in its stall. It's safely and securely locked down. And he thinks to himself, oh, what about the hay? I bet the hay is flying all over the place. We're going to feed everybody else's cows. So he goes running over to see the hay, and he sees that someone had covered it up so perfectly and so securely that none of it was blowing around at all. And the farmer began to realize, oh, that's what he meant. Every time I asked him if he could work in the farm, if he knew about farming, he said, I sleep well on windy nights. Ah, that's what he meant. This worker, Scott, knew that when he did a job, he did it right the first time. Kind of like that Bible verse. Whatsoever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Boys and girls, Uncle Bryan hopes that these stories are going to encourage you to be someone who doesn't forget when your parents tell you what to do and does really good work the first time. Be someone who doesn't have to go back and repeat things. Be a child that when your parents ask you, please help here, please do that, you are like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, mommy, yes, daddy, I'll get right to it. Be like Scott and do good work. And be with someone that you know that can be trusted. So what do you think? Scott could sleep on windy nights because he knew he did good work. And we want to be like that too. We should be praying that God will help us to be like that so that we can be those kind of people both young and old, other way around. So, back to this picture. Did anybody guess what it was? I'm looking at my cameraman who's helping us. Did anyone guess who it was? Ooh, we'll see. You'll have to read the comments later. So, what do you think, Mr. Orangutan? This is not a crocodile. No, Swami's story was about a crocodile. This is not a crocodile, but this is from a country that has crocodiles, and it's from a country that does farming. So Scott's story could have been from this country. Any guesses? The country is? The continent is? Australia. That's right. This picture comes from a friend of mine from Australia. And this animal kind of looks like a crocodile, kind of, with a big fat snout and a big fat tail. No, it's not a crocodile. This is what? A platypus. This is a special kind of animal you could learn about this week when you're staying at home. Learn about the platypus, very special stories. And this picture was given to me when I met a special friend in Australia. And so I hope, boys and girls, that as you think about these things, send me the names that you think should be given to Mr. Orangutan here, and let me know what you think about our stories and what we can do in the future. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow when we go live again. May God bless you, and may you learn from these stories. Bye-bye.